Yes, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Couples Journey and podcast, and we are glad to have you. Pray that everybody's feeling great. I pray that everybody's doing well. I pray that we are all growing, we are all creating, we are all contributing, and we are all connecting with each other just so that we can continue to create value in ourselves. I hope that this finds you in good spirits. If it doesn't, I'm sorry, and I hope things get better. Keep your head up. Things will get better. If God be for us, who can be against us? Today, I want to tell you guys a story. I think today's episode I'm going to call Fishing. When Jesus called his disciples, he told them, I'm going to make you fishers of men. But being that this is a relationship podcast, we want to talk about fishing for your spouse or for your mate or for your contendant, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call this episode Fishing. And I think you enjoy this one. So I'll give you some background. So I'm at work, working hard, how we do, and having a conversation with one of the ladies at my job. And I guess when they hear it, they'll know who I'm talking about, but don't worry about it. It wasn't anything, the conversation is not about, it's about something somebody else said. And him, I'll drop his name and his Instagram and everything. But so she, we came up and we're talking about dating and we're trying to figure out what is your type? What do you think your type would be? And so while she was going through, I made a comment that said something. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said something in the term of I was asking a question and I said, so you have this pond of men that you have to pick from, right? And her response, or somebody in the area responded, there's a whole ocean. Why would I want to pick from a pond? Right. And I hear some of you going like, oh my God, yeah, exactly. Why would we do that? Why would we do this? And some of you want to clap and put your hands together and do something like this. Right. So, so um, yeah, and I just figured that out. So you'll be hearing a lot more of that clapping sounds. But anyway, so somebody goes, well, why would you want an ocean? Why would you want a pond when there's a whole ocean for you to pick on? And this is where it got really interesting, right? And you can call him his name. His name is Brian. I'm not gonna put his full name there. His name is Brian. You can find him on Instagram. Just hit me in the notes if you want to find him on Instagram, and you can ask him this. And this is what he said. He said this, and so Brian is he's a big fisherman, right? He fishes all the time, and he knows fish. I don't think I know anybody who knows fish than this guy. So he knows fish, and he said something that I think resonated a lot with me. He said, typically when you are fishing, you want to fish in a pond. First thing he said. Second thing is that you would rather not fish in an ocean. So if I believe the ocean is saltwater fish versus freshwater fish. So when you think about it, right off the bat, freshwater fish is deemed healthier, or yes, healthier in a sense than saltwater fish, because freshwater fish pick their food from the habitats around them, right? So because of that, they are accustomed to the food that is in the area, or they're accustomed to the environment that they are picked from. So if you fish from a pond, you're most likely to be able to predict what kind of fish you're going to get in this pond. So now I'm excited after he said this, and I'm like skipping around saying, oh my God, that's a word, right? I need you to break that down. So I go to him and we get to talking about fish. And the whole time he's talking about the pond, the nature, the attributes of the fish you find in a pond, it ties to the environment in which the pond is located. And so that's how you're able to predict the kind of fish. And I was thinking to myself, well, we have people who, you know, typically have a type, right? So you can think about where you pick your contendant from, or your spouse, or whatever, whoever you want to get a relationship. Like, there are always people who say, I have a certain type. And so you keep going after the quote unquote, the certain type that you have, because they have some characteristics that you're used to, because the environment that people grew up in is very important. And so that environment tends to shape their character. It tends to shape how we respond to certain situations. It tends to shape how we come at different situations, how our understanding is different. It's different, right? For example, if you grew up in a Republican household or a Democrat household, you are more than likely, unless you learn something else, to be Democrat or Republican, right? If you grew up in the South, your mannerism of speaking or the type of food you eat might have some representation of the environment that you grew up in. In the same way, when you date in a certain pool of people or pond of people, the environment tends to affect how they react. So the first point I'm going to make today is, if you have a type and you go after that type, and that type, everybody you pick or you choose tends not to work out in your favor, or this, then maybe you should question the type that you have, because you realize that if you keep fishing from the same pond, you're going to get the same characteristics, right? And so then you have to have a truthful conversation with yourself and evaluate and say, is this really my type, or is this just something that I feel like looks good, or is, you know the environment around me just telling me that this is what I do want to be with, or who I want to be with, this kind of person, because of how because of the idea of what this person is, right? So the first and foremost, you have to question your type, because your type is always based on the environment that the people are from, or the kinds of people they are from. And if you focus on that pond, you are always going to get the same results. Now, it's going to be in a different package, it's going to be in a different way, but unless the person learns something outside of the environment, you're going to get the same results. Now, I'm not saying if the environment is not suitable for you, it's not suitable for you. Let us stop making excuses, or stop making reasoning to be with people or to be in relationships just because we think they look good on camera, or they look good on Instagram, or the person has something that I need. Let's cut that out. For your relationship to work, it has to be a true connection. It cannot be something that is based on a desire that we have in our head, and it's not a true desire that we want. So if your kind or your type keeps quote unquote fumbling, or everybody you pick who is of the same type keeps fumbling, then maybe that's not your type. And you need to question that relationship that you have with that type. Maybe you need to move to a different pond. See, this is why his statement was so big and so resonate with me, because I've been trying to find a way to kind of lay this out, and the fishing analogy was so perfect to me, because if you fish in the same pond, you get the same results, or you can predict the same results you get. And if you don't like those results, then maybe that's not the pond for you. Wish I had some help in here. So I learned that from one of my mentors, right? And it's 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 such mind opening when you think about it, because even fish, I can acclimate. We're gonna get this word right. Fish acclimate. That's weird. I don't remember what the word is. So the environment has an effect on how even fish grow, or how fish develop. So how much more a human being? So if this is the pond that you want to fish from, be very sure that this is the pond that you want to fish from, because people in the same environment will tend to have similar characteristics, right? And as much as it is to broaden your horizon, it doesn't mean that if something is not for you, you should go following it. That's not what you have been destined for. Something that is for you, someone that is for you, how you should be treated, characteristics that fall in line with the kind of person that you are, in order for you to have a wealthy, healthy relationship, you have to go for something that is for you and not something that is against you. Right. And so, how do you find what my type is? That will be defined by the boundaries that you set. That will be defined by knowing who you are as a person, as a man, as a woman, as a student, as an individual. Knowing who you are as your person helps you set your boundaries. And once you craft these boundaries, you craft your desires, you craft what you want. You are able to create the environment in which you want to look for the kind or the pond that you want to search, right? So once you create this environment, once you're able to define this environment, it puts you in a better situation to identify your pond, right? So now that I've exhausted that on pond, I mean, I could go on for days, but let's not go too much on that. Now that we've exhausted the pond, why shouldn't you saltwater fish? The issue with the saltwater is, or the ocean, whatever the saltwater fish is, that they flow with the current. Don't say that again, because again, when he mentioned this, I was like, bro, this is deep. They flow with the current. They go wherever the current sends them, right? So if you are dating in the ocean, right? Huge. Everybody and everybody's open to, it's, you're open to everybody and everybody, and you don't set boundaries, you don't set expectations, you don't find your pond, right? If you don't do that and you are out in the open, and you will have people in and out of your life who fit, who will look like they fit, but then they don't, or who will do things that will get your attention, will attract you, but they're not there for the long haul, because when the current moves, they're going to move. The issue with today, where I think a huge problem is that we have been open, because before social media and everything, like we live in our environment, we live in a past, but now social media creates an opening where we are open to, quote unquote, the ocean, right? So there's every and anything can come through, and so you have to find a way to sieve this down, to kind of like filter it down into the people that will fall into your pond. It's not necessarily you have to date from where you grew up at, or date from, no, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you have to identify certain characteristics that fits in the pond that you're looking for. And if you keep going into this pond that does not align with your values, your goals, your desires, then maybe you are just looking at a different pond. What you shouldn't do is be open to the ocean, that you are allowing anybody or anyone that's outside that comfort zone, outside your boundaries, into your life, right? And so in that case, you might be putting yourself in more jeopardy than not. Right. So if you go back and look at the episode we did about setting boundaries, we talked about how to set your boundaries and everything. So you can go back and check that out. But once you have your boundaries defined, once you have your expectations defined, it is very difficult. It's very difficult not to hold into it. It's very difficult not to just keep it open and just let any freshwater fish flow by. So it's very important that you should look at what is working, what works for you as an individual, right? And create that, and not just be open to dating whatever because you of a fear of being single or the fear of being alone. Like, that should not be our motivating factor. Now, again, if you look at the setting boundaries video, we talk about setting boundaries is not necessarily saying you're excluding everybody off. But the point I want to make is that you should be open to new experiences, but you should not be open to conflicting experiences. I hope I'm getting through to somebody. We want to make sure we are following the path that has been ordained for us. We are following a path that it works for us. It works with your beliefs. It works with your understanding. It works with your morals. It works with your values, right? As long as it works with that, you can be open to, and that's how you create the pond that you want to pick out of. So when people are outside of that, I bet to say, don't waste your time. Do not waste your time, because that's going to happen is they're going to be with you. They are going to be about you for the moment until the current comes and sweeps them on to the next thing, right? It's kind of like every new think about every new dance that comes out on TikTok or whatever it is, right? Like for me, I kind of gave up dancing a long time ago because I can't dance. Then the reason before, by the time I'm able to actually figure out how to do a new dance, the wave is gone, right? There's a whole new dance that has come out and I don't get it. So personally, I just stopped dancing. I stick to the two step that I learned when I was two, and even that sometimes I go off beat. So I know that dance is not for me, and so that's just me about dance. But when we invest in something that is not here to stay, or that's not essentially real, when a wave comes, it's just gonna flow with the wave, right? Which is why everybody and everything cannot be for you. So create your boundaries, set your boundaries, get an understanding of where your pond is, so that just like the fish, you can pick out of the pond that fits your environment or fits your values or fits your expectations. And then once you pick from that pond, you are never guaranteed that it's going to work, but you are in a better position because you have something to work towards, or you'll be able to develop common goals. You'll be able to develop the idea of success in a relationship, the idea of working towards the success in a relationship, and more work than you need, rather than to get somebody out there that is just flowing with the current, and just because now they are in your ways, your space. Some of us, we think we are so great that we are the ones that are going to cause somebody to change. I say this, and I say this with all due respect: nobody changes unless they want to change, and the only thing constant in life and growth is change. So if there's somebody who's not about you, you can't make the person be about you. You can only guarantee that a time is going to come and they're going to change and move on. So but you also can't control what other people do, which is important that you make the best decision with the best information that you have, which is why I just spend the whole time telling you guys about fishing, because you want freshwater fish and not saltwater fish. And I hope this touches you. I hope this blesses you. Shout out to my boy Brian. You came through on this word, and I really appreciate it again, like I said. And until next time, stay blessed by He who gives us rest. This is Isaac from the Couples Journey. Much love. Peace. I'm out.